and welcome back to another video on the Football Zone and to another weekend preview, previewing a big week of Premier League and Championship action, starting off in the Premier League and Friday night with a big game, Brighton v Crystal Palace. Yeah, now obviously these two teams do seem to be roughly mid-table at the moment. Brighton 9th, Palace 12th, but with the size of this rivalry, it's still a big game, and you never know, both of these teams could push into Europe with a good run, but I just think they're so closely matched at the moment. I think it'll be a draw. I'm going to say 1-1. Moving on then to probably the big game of the weekend, and that's Manchester City against Chelsea, and this is a really interesting one. Obviously both teams on a really solid run of form. Chelsea have won 3 games in a row, however none of those have been in the Premier League, and Man City, obviously, as we know at the moment, are absolutely flying, aren't they? They just look, to be honest, they just look unstoppable at the moment. But I think they're favourites to win here and really just eliminate Chelsea from the title race if they weren't already. Moving on, Burnley take on Leicester at Turf Moor, and Burnley, they're not in a good run of form at the moment at all, are they? And obviously losing Chris Wood, that's a massive blow for them. And Leicester, they're slowly starting to pick up now. 2 wins on the trot. Hopefully the second half of the season they're in 10th place. It's not a disaster for them, but they probably pick back up to the form we've seen in the last few seasons. I think they'll get the win here. I think it'll be quite comfortable. I'm going to say the scoreline will be 2-0 to Leicester. Moving on then, Newcastle take on Watford at St James's Park. And Newcastle, obviously that 1-0 defeat to Cambridge last time out, but since then, or Trippier did play, but his first league game, Chris Wood's first league game, so looking to integrate them all, and against the Watford side that's really out of form, they won't have a better chance to get off to a winning start with some of those new players, and they do need it, and I think they will get the win. I'm going to say it will be 1-0. To the Toon, to drop Watford into the rally. Moving on then, Norwich take on Everton at Carrow Road, and Norwich, obviously, as we know, just on a dreadful run of form at the moment, not looking great at all for them, is against an Everton side that's in 15th now. 8 points clear of the drop zone. You'd think they'd be in no danger, but you never ever know, and if they can't win this game, then the pressure really will start to build on Rafa Benitez, you feel, if it hasn't already. But I think they will have enough to get the win here. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on, Wolves take on Southampton, at Molineux. And Wolves, 2 wins on the trot now in all competitions, unbeaten in 4, 3 wins in 4, definitely starts to pick up, but the same could be said for Southampton, who are unbeaten in 5, I'm looking forward to this one. 2 teams definitely on the up at the moment. Wolves in 8, still got a decent chance of getting into Europe, potentially they should maybe consider a chance of getting into Europe, so you never know, but Wolves, I think will have enough to get the win here. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on, Villa host Manchester United at Villa Park, and this is an interesting one. Villa, obviously, Coutinho in the squad now, Digne as well. Don't think Coutinho will play though, sounds like he may be out. Manchester United, obviously though, under Ralph Rangnick, it's still not really clicking for them despite that victory over Villa last time out, so it will be interesting, obviously, with Villa having home advantage this time, but I do feel like United will just about get a win this time. I'll say 2-0 to make it 2 out of 2. Moving on, Liverpool take on Brentford at Anfield in what's a big game for Liverpool. Obviously, really disappointing draw with Arsenal in the Carabao Cup. Maybe we'll see them rest some players, obviously, with the likes of Salah and Dudar away. Liverpool will probably still see this as a game they can win, and they go all out for that Carabao Cup thingy. Some stuff you never thought you'd hear, but against Brentford they've got a decent chance of doing it. I do think Liverpool will have enough squads to get the win here. I'm going to say 2-0. Moving on, West Ham take on Leeds at the Olympic Stadium, and this is another interesting one. West Ham, 4 wins on the trot now. Any thoughts of kind of a bit of a dip for West Ham? Are long gone now. Won every single game since Boxing Day, but Leeds, obviously lost West Ham last time out in the cup, and aren't on the greatest run of form themselves at the moment. But they do have a decent gap over the relegation zone, so they're sitting pretty comfortable at the moment. But I do fancy West Ham to get the win here. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on then, Tottenham take on Arsenal at White Hart Lane in the North London derby. And yeah, this is a massive game. You do kind of feel like at the moment the battle for the top four is coming down to these two teams, really. So yeah, or potentially West Ham as well. But yeah, so it makes this a massive game. And I just think at the moment there's just not a lot to call between the two sides at all, really. Both seem very evenly matched. So I'm going to say 1-1. Moving on then to the Championship and starting off on Saturday lunchtime, where Luton host Bournemouth at Kenilworth Road. And yeah, this is a really interesting game. Obviously, Luton on a bit of a mixed run of form. We're kind of used to that with Luton, inconsistent, but Bournemouth, picking up their form a lot at the moment. Definitely looking better. 3 wins on the trot in all comps, and yeah, I definitely bet them to get the win here. I'm going to say the scoreline will be 2-0. Moving on then, Cardiff take on Blackburn at Cardiff City Stadium, and yeah, two contrasting fortunes for these two teams at the moment. Blackburn obviously flying, but they have lost in the cup last time out and drew against Huddersfield, so maybe we're seeing signs of it dipping towards the end. I guess we'll see here against the Cardiff side that is struggling quite a lot under Steve Morrison. So yeah, this will be a tough one for them, and I do fancy Rovers to get back on track from kind of the mini dip, you could describe it. I'm going to say the scoreline will be 1-0. Moving on, Derby take on Sheffield United at Pride Park, and yeah, this is an interesting one. Probably two teams that you wouldn't want to be playing at the moment. Derby, of course, never say die attitude, still going along not too badly at all. And then you've got Sheffield United, who are on a great run of form under Paul Heckingbottom before they had that mini COVID outbreak. So yeah, I think this will be an even game, but I do fancy Sheffield United to just about nick it. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on then, Fulham host Bristol City at Craven Cottage, and yeah, Fulham will be full of confidence after that 7-0 demolition of Reading in the week. But Bristol City, of course, losing 1-0 to Fulham last time out in the cup. Weird how many times they're playing each other week in, week out, several teams here. But yeah, Fulham, I definitely think they'll be going into this one full of confidence. For Bristol City, it's probably a bit of a free hit. I'm going to say the scoreline will be 2-0 to Fulham. Moving on, Middlesbrough take on Reading at the Riverside, and obviously Reading, after that embarrassment that we just talked about in the week, will be desperate for a comeback. But yeah, with the way they're playing at the moment, the last two results, it's really hard to see it coming, especially when you consider their opponents, Chris Wilder's Middlesbrough, who are just getting better and better and better and looking really, really strong at the moment. So yeah, really, I can't see this going any other way than a comfortable Middlesbrough victory. I'm going to say the scoreline will be 2-0 to Borough. Moving on then, Millwall take on Forest at the Den. And yeah, Millwall, obviously, as we know, just so inconsistent. That's really what's holding them back from getting to the playoffs. At the moment, you could say, or not even getting into the playoffs, getting in and around the picture for the playoffs. So they need to improve that. But Forest, yeah, they're going okay at the moment. Obviously got that huge win over Arsenal last time out, which will give them a massive confidence boost. Could also be a game with Jed Wallace speculation, but yeah, I think these two teams are so evenly matched. I'm going to call it a 1-1 draw. Moving on then, Peterborough taking Coventry at the Western Home Stadium, and yeah, this is a really, really hard one to call, really. Peterborough, they are slowly improving, I would say, but yeah, still inconsistent, but you know, they are showing fight against the Coventry side, which is kind of tailing off a bit recently. So yeah, I don't think there'll be much to choose between these two sides at all, really, which is why I'm going to say it will be a 1-1 draw. Moving on then, Preston take on Birmingham at Deepdale. And Preston, 2 wins on the trot in the league, obviously losing in the cup to Cardiff last time out, but you know, the run era started off decently against the Birmingham side, which kind of are struggling at the moment, still down in 18th position, no threat of relegation, but yeah, not going too brilliant for the league for them, I think you'd say. And I think Preston will fancy their chances here under Ryan Lowe, and I think they're going to get the 2-0 win. Moving on then, QPR take on West Brom at Loftus Road, and QPR 3 wins on the trot now in all competitions against the West Brom side that's struggling, but of course West Brom do have the Daryl DK factor, which could play a big role for them going forward. Obviously we saw what he did with Barnsley last time out. Obviously under Valor and Ishmael as well. So yeah, I think that could play a big factor, and I'm going to say it'll be a 1-0 win. Moving on to Huddersfield versus Swansea, this is an interesting one. Huddersfield, obviously on a really good run of form at the moment, beating Premier League opposition last time out. I thought they were going to tail off, but they're back into the playoff contention in 6th place at the moment. Other teams do have game in hand, so against the Swansea side, which I thought they would be back in the playoff mix, but it hasn't kind of worked out. It does look like they're set for a season in mid-table, but you never ever know. I think this will be a close one. But moving on then, Hull take on Stoke at the KCOM Stadium, and this is another big game. Hull obviously went on that great run of form, but they have tailed off. No wins in 5 in the last few games, which is a bit disappointing, but they've got a decent enough gap. I think they were out of the relegation picture for a little bit at least, against Stoke side that's quite inconsistent really, but obviously did pick up a win against Leeds and Norwich last time out, and I fancy them to do so here. I'm going to say 1-0, but anyway guys, that's it for the video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, any thoughts, comments and read, follow us on subscription mode for daily football news, and subscribe to my channel on screen, and I'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.